All right, listen, let's have a discussion because I know I say a lot of things on this channel and half of them you can probably disregard. I talk all kinds of big games about how I'm going to sell half my collection, I'm no longer buying Truly Me dolls, I don't collect collector dolls, and who are we kidding? Every time American Girl releases something new, I'm the first in line to hit the Apple Pay button and purchase one. And even though it's the summer of demurity and mindfulness, we have brand new American Girl dolls in bright pink ball gowns and green cut creases. So if somebody wants to get Jules on the phone and ask what's going on, I would love to know as well. Okay, in all reality, I actually really love the new American Girl holiday collector dolls because, shocker, I'm a gay guy that loves pink. So today I just kind of want to do a bit of a live reaction. I know we've done a video on these dolls already, but truthfully, I saw the leaked images a few days ago and in the middle of a thunderstorm jumped online and did a quick reaction video so I could get those sweet YouTube algorithm points. But I want to kind of take a slow day today to kind of go through all of the details and let's just chill and talk about these dolls because in all reality, I have like the devil and angel on each shoulder. One of them is telling me buy the doll, you want the doll, and you're going to ultimately get every American Girl doll ever. And the other one just says, you just spent $500 on Josefina items yesterday and you have like 20 dolls in your sale pile. What are you doing? Get your life. So I just want to chill out and talk about the dolls today, decide if I'm going to buy one or not. I'm going to buy one. But yeah, let's have a look at the American Girl 2024 holiday collector dolls. So right off the bat, I feel like these dolls are giving Chappell Roan Tiny Desk Concert pink ball gowns. And yeah, I'm here for it. I have really been into Chappell Roan lately. I have referenced her like 3,000 times on this channel for no reason. I just love her music. I think she's so talented and I never get into pop music. So anytime there's a pop album that comes out, because it's like once every 10 years that I really love a pop album, I get really into it. So yeah, that's probably another reason I'm kind of into these dolls because they kind of remind me of her costume from that. But anyway, this is not a Chappell Roan channel. This is an American Girl channel. So yeah, I know there's going to be a lot of divisiveness in terms of like, is this a good holiday collector doll? And it's mainly because I think that a lot of people do not like pink, especially like adult doll collectors, which I think is very interesting. But I think it's like largely American Girl doll collectors that may tend to not like pink. And I totally get why, because I think one of the big reasons that I fell in love with these dolls in the first place when I was a kid was because they were kind of the anti-Barbie, right? I think that's a lot of the discourse that, you know, goes on when we're talking like why American Girl, like Pleasant Company, was so successful in the 80s is because all of the dolls that were out at that time were like quintessential like Barbie core, like the bright pinks and just like more, like basically the dolls that we're looking at today. Basically, I think these dolls are very Barbie core. So, you know, it makes sense to me that people that really got attached to Pleasant Company, there's a certain like, I almost said homely. That's like a horrible way to put it, but they were just very calm. Like, I don't know, is that like a good word to say? There's just a calm feeling you get when you think about the original Pleasant Company dolls, because not only like their face sculpts and everything, but just their wardrobes. It wasn't like a bright pink like explosion. It was like real everyday colors that you would see like the average person wear, and I just think that they were super relatable. So I totally understand, especially like for older collectors that are looking at stuff like this. Like, we're seeing Disney princesses, a lot of pink in terms of the holiday collection. I can see why a lot of people are like, you know what, this really isn't doing it for me because it's not very American Girl. But at the same time, I really love pink, so I'm not complaining. Obviously, like, my dream doll when I was a kid was the 1988 Superstar Barbie, and this outfit on these holiday dolls is very reminiscent of that. And like, I can't remember the year, but it was like 1990 or 1991, like very early 90s holiday collector Barbie. They had one in like a bright hot pink ball gown. So there is weirdly like a nostalgic element to these dolls for me. So that's why I really kind of want to get one because even though I just said I bought like the Frozen collector dolls, which honestly was stupid, I think part of me just really wanted to have something to show off on the channel, which is a terrible reason to buy something. But those dolls are like packed away and sitting in the closet now. So I really don't want this to turn into one of those situations where I buy a collector doll and then it like hides away forever. But To be fair, I think one thing that's really fun about these dolls is you can basically make them part of your Christmas display or holiday display if you don't celebrate Christmas. And but for me, like, we're a Christmas household, so that's one thing I love doing every year, is trying to like alter my display to like feel holiday-ish. I put all my dolls in their Christmas outfits, and now that we're getting like holiday limited edition dolls, I think that's a really fun thing to be able to add to your display. And again, I guess back on the topic of pink for these dolls, because I think it's going to be one of the bigger contentious issues. I really do like that these are sort of like not specific to a specific holiday. If you celebrate like Hanukkah or Kwanzaa, these are just as much like Hanukkah as they are Christmas. They don't have like a really pointed color palette. Like, we think of like Christmas, for instance, as like a traditional like red and green palette. And I think, Hanukkah, for instance, like you think blue. So this doesn't really fall like in either like any of the major like celebrated holidays, for the end of year holidays, whatever we want to call them. So I think that's really great. I think that's one thing that's really important for a doll company. If you're not going to make a Hanukkah doll and a Christmas doll and a Kwanzaa doll, like et cetera, I think it's really important to kind of make something that works for everybody, which is why I think pink is a great choice. Again, I know that there are people that don't like pink, but I think that there are a ton of people that do. So as far as the color palette goes, I'm thrilled with it. And honestly, selfishly, I would ultimately, like, one year would love to see them kind of tackle a little bit more specificity in these holidays, so that we could see like we could actually get a Hanukkah like limited edition collector doll and a Christmas one, and we can have ones that are like really super Christmassy or really super Hanukkah-y, or really because American Girl has done Kwanzaa outfits as well in the past, and multiple ones. So I would love to see that again. I think that it just gives you like, those warm fuzzies. If you're somebody that grew up celebrating Christmas, like, it's really hard to not like see like a red and green plaid and just immediately go, oh my gosh, that's so Christmassy. So I would love to see that. But again, not at the expense of like excluding people that celebrate holidays other than Christmas. So yeah, that's one thing that I would love to ultimately see. But yeah, at the same time, I feel like it's been years and years at this point where we've expected things that are kind of a little bit more designy and in left field from doll companies, because we've seen a lot of it with Barbie. There's like this huge precedent of dolls not needing to look like traditional holidays to still be like limited edition holiday dolls for that year. So yeah, it's really fun to collect them too. So a lot of people have like very large collection, especially with Barbie. American Girl, I think, has only been doing this for about 4 years, so there are not a ton of dolls in the line, but they have started off already, like, I think, having taken lessons from Barbie in the past. So they didn't just start out doing like red and green like Christmas dolls in the beginning. Like, we really have like a diverse, like, inclusive line of holiday dolls right from the beginning. And I think as people start to grow these collections and start collecting more and more of these dolls, it's great that it's not just like we have like 10 red and green dolls and then all of a sudden it jumps to hot pink. Like, we have already had some insane looks with the holiday dolls. And again, when we talk about divisiveness, I don't like to be rude, because I know that a ton of people worked on this doll and a lot of people really love this doll, but I can't remember, it has the word splendor in it, which for some reason I hate the word splendor. Like, splendor is like moist to me. Like, some people, the word moist doesn't bother me like it does a lot of people, but the word splendor, for some reason, I can't, I don't know, I just hate that word. So not only did I not like that word, but that doll like was so insane. Like that is like a Bob Mackie drag queen. But we're talking like season 2 of Drag Race, eliminated on the 2nd episode. I did not particularly love that doll. I didn't like the color palette or anything. But again, that's just personal taste. I'm not saying it was bad or horrible. It just was not to my taste. Again, not very demure, not very mindful. So yeah, but I do love that we have had lots of different variation with, I guess, a little bit of emphasis on pink. We did get pink dolls, I think, in 2021. And I think that that's what people were expecting this year. I think a lot of people were hoping for more like muted blush pinks, like a little bit more dreamy and romantic. But I personally am so happy that we got a really bright hot pink again, because it feels different than I can't remember the names of all these dolls, but the 2021 doll with like the meshy kind of like crystally blush pink dress and stuff. I need to make sure that my camera isn't overexposed. Hang on one second. Nope, we are at perfect exposure. Yeah, apologies. I didn't really get super prepared for today's video. I threw on the same hoodie that I throw on every time. I ran my fingers through my hair and I didn't bother to shave. So sorry if you're looking at a booger on the screen right now. I'm going to be putting pictures of the holiday dolls, so just focus on the dolls. So yeah, I really love these dolls. This is why I'm debating buying one of them. I like both of them. Obviously, I love Josefina and have a bazillion Josefina head sculpt dolls. And who doesn't love Claudie? I am so thrilled that they have a Claudie head sculpt because they're finally starting to use her like in different lines. Like we've seen her be used for Tiana from the Disney Princess Collection line. But I think they'd like to give new head sculpts a couple of years before they immediately start using them for other dolls. So that's no surprise to me. I think Claudie, from memory, I think she was released in 2022. I could be wrong, but I think she was 2022. And it wasn't until I think earlier this year, almost about 2 years, that they started using Claudie's head sculpt for other dolls, which would be Tiana. Unless I'm forgetting somebody, I think this is only the third Claudie head sculpt that we have. And maybe I'll just start by talking about the Claudie doll to begin with, because that's the one that I think that I want to get. And it's mainly because I just freaking love Claudie. She's so cool. I haven't actually unboxed her on my channel yet. I've shown her on my Patreon when I bought her. I think it was a little over a year ago, or maybe a year and a half ago. So I've had Claudie for a while. I unboxed her on Patreon when I got her, but she's not out on display. I do have a miniature doll. Actually, this is going to be a long video today. I'm not this isn't one of those concise, like we're going to talk about everything. We're hanging out today. There's been a lot of feedback on the channel that y'all just want to hang out. And personally, like this, it's my favorite type of content too. We're leaning more and more towards like a podcast format because that's what I like. I just like being able to put a video on and leave some like rambling lunatic on in the background while I do chores or whatever. So yeah, we're just hanging out today. So I expect me to be all over the place, but you know what else is new. But anyway, here's a work in progress doll that I'm working on. I really love boy dolls, especially like American Girl ones. I'm trying to collect every single boy doll they've ever made, and I just have one left to get. And I've also started making customs. So this is one I am working on with the Claudie head sculpt. And again, I don't know why I'm showing him today other than the fact that I'm really proud that I just finished. Well, he's not finished, but I started like really working on him the other day. But I got an extra Truly Me 77 doll and took his wig off, which was an ordeal. Like every once in a while you will get a doll whose wig is glued on so tightly that you basically have to like rip the wig in half trying to get it off. So this one is a really stubborn wig, but I think I managed to salvage it. But yeah, I've taken his lower lashes off, but I think I'm going to take all of his lashes off. But I just wanted to see what they looked like just with the lower lashes off. And I have to say, I do think Claudie looks a little bit better without the lower lashes. Again, I think lower lashes look like crow's feet. So, and I've said that a million times. I just wish they would stop doing that. Actually, let me look at this holiday doll again. I feel like that they're really leaning into these lower lashes. And yeah, she's got the lower lashes too. I honestly, I don't understand. I think it's way too much. Again, they look like crow's feet, and you still get that like effect of like really lashy lashes by just doing the top. And then, you know, but what are you going to do? I mean, obviously, I feel like American Girl does not watch these videos. So, I mean, but anyway, yeah, there are a couple of complaints I have about the Claudie version of this. And it really mainly comes down to just, and Barbie World, they call it screening, but I actually don't exactly know how they print these dolls. I don't know if they do. To me, it looks like it might actually be pad printing, which I guess is not really an interesting topic to get on how they're made in this video. But however they print these details on their faces, you know, some dolls they do a really great job with, and others I think need maybe like one more revision. So again, I don't like the lower lashes. I pretty much haven't seen a single doll that I think would look better with the lower lashes than without. So I think we could ditch them on this doll. And I mean, and you know, I'm going to say it too. Like my biggest complaint about this doll is the eyebrows. I just don't like this eyebrow shape. I think it is way too, and I'm not the only person to have made this comment, but they look very microbladed. It's just like they're very parallel lines. There's no, like, when you think about like human eyebrows, that like they're kind of brushed together and hairs overlap, and there's some flow to it. These look really, really drawn on. Like somebody just took like a marker and went line, another line, another line, another line. And it's just, they're very, very harsh and drawn on looking. And I get it's a doll. They are drawn on, but I just wish they would stop using this shape, because these eyebrows were the single reason that I did not get the Tiana doll. Because, well, I don't really love that eye color that they picked for her either. Is that like tinny eye color? It's funny because I collect the oldest like Pleasant Company dolls. I do have a couple of Samantha dolls that have eye colors that are similar to that. They're like that really, really bright amber color, and I have to say they're actually not my favorite either. I prefer Samantha with the deeper, like really chocolatey brown eyes. So it's like, I feel like if anybody would be biased towards those bright eyes, it would be me, because I love that super vintage Pleasant Company stuff. But I don't know. I think eyes can get so bright that they're a little bit like jarring. But yeah, anyway, I did watch Princess and the Frog the other day, actually. It was a really, really good movie. But again, that's like another tangent for another day. All that comes down to is like, I really feel like if I end up not buying one of these holiday dolls, or like buying like the Claudie version of the holiday doll, it's because they did that eyebrow pattern on her. And I'm not sure why, because like doubling over and looking at the one that they made with the Josefina head sculpt, they gave her like truly me eyebrows. Like they have like, again, they just have some more flow to them. There's different like lengths of like hairs in the eyebrows. There's like they're kind of like a little bit thicker towards the like the bridge of the nose, and they thin out. Like these are much better eyebrows in my personal opinion. They look more natural, whereas the Claudie ones, I just can't get over the fact that they are so harsh and drawn on looking. Now, that said, the doll is gorgeous. Like a person can, have some eyebrow blindness and still be a gorgeous person. And look, I think this is the case. I think this is brow blindness Claudie, but she is still so, so pretty. And I will say also, I'm really, really, really happy with the eye color choice that they made with this doll. They I think refer to it as a hazel color, and I have to say it is stunningly beautiful on her. I always talk about how much I prefer the pinwheel eyes versus the decal eyes, and those are just collector terms for how they manufacture these eyes basically. So what we call like a pinwheel eye is basically a clear plastic eye that is molded from the inside to have like different, basically spokes that go around the pupil, and they're filled with paint to basically make the colors. So the factory workers go from the inside, they fill up the pupil, like there's like a little hole for the pupil. So they fill that up first with black, and then they go in and fill the rest of it up with the color that they have chosen for the iris, and that's what makes the pinwheel eye. So it's actually like molded plastic that you're just seeing from the other side of the eye that makes all of the dimension in them, and you just get all of this extra nuance, like based on like which way the light hits it, like if you see it hit from the side versus straight on. Like the eyes really have a lot of dimension, and I wish they kind of would go back to how they were making them in the late 80s and like 1991 basically. They really had a lot of dimension. Like you would see like they were very, very like gradient looking, like collectors will call them gradient eyes, but like the color is like a brighter, like say we were talking about like Kirsten, for instance, it's like a really bright blue closer to the pupil, and then it gets darker at like out towards the edges of the iris, and it looks really like captivating and dimensional, and it's all done with refracted light through clear plastic. Like the paint on the inside of the eyes is the same color all throughout the eye, but it looks brighter or darker based on the way the light refracts through the eyes. It was like, it just looks so beautiful. Those are the best eyes that American Girl has ever made. And I suspect the reason they don't make them anymore is they were probably more prone to silver eye. They basically had to completely re-engineer how those eyes were manufactured. And I want to guess that they moved from like paint to something more like a resin, like an actual like polymer instead of actual paint inside the eye, because when Goetz was making these dolls in West Germany in basically the mid 80s through sort of the late 90s, I think they kind of transitioned out of Germany while while she still was in charge at Pleasant Company. So I think that was a Pleasant Company decision to move those dolls to China. But Silver Eye obviously plagued American Girl, and so I think when they moved production of those dolls to China and the eyes were getting made, like there's obviously like a very big difference in the way the eyes look when they switched to China. Obviously we get different types of eyelashes. I think that's one of the most noticeable things. But one of the things that they did get right when changing to China was they finally figured out how to prevent silver eye. Like you do not see silver eye in dolls anymore, and I'm gonna guess it's because they picked a polymer that actually bonds with plastic. And I guess the thing that does kind of suck about that is I haven't tried, but I would assume it's very difficult to repaint newer American Girl doll eyes, because I would assume that it's very hard to get that the color out of them, whereas like the ones made by Goetz, I'm pretty sure that's just paint that they put in the eyes, and that's why Silver Eye plagued them so much, because you have two different materials that don't bond as well together as what they're using now. So yeah, that's why you don't see Silver Eye anymore. They're using a different material basically to fill the pinwheel eyes. But anyway, I know that was a huge tangent, but all of that was to say is I really love that style of eye, because I love the way, like using the plastic, the mold, like the way the plastic is molded to refract the light throughout the eyes. I think it just makes them look so much more rich and dimensional, and it's just more lifelike to me. And then the decal eyes, that's what collectors refer to them as. Decal eyes are basically printed on. So the inside of the eye is a flat plastic, like the plastic is just completely flat. And they print out basically an iris and pupil all on a flat piece of paper. And so all of the details, like the color variations, are all drawn on. So that's where you get an opportunity for having like a lot of different variations in the like within that eye color. So you might see like thinking like about Felicity's eyes, for instance. Actually, I think I have Isabel right. No, I'm not pulling out Isabel. Y'all know what I'm talking about. So like in Felicity's eyes, for instance, you see that bright green, but they're also like black strips in it, and like yellow strips. So there's a lot of like major variation in color, and I think that's probably why some people might prefer a decal eye over the pinwheel eye, because you can get lots of variations of color. But for me, my personal favorite is the pinwheel, because I feel like there's a depth to them that you don't get when everything is printed on one flat surface. So that's why I'm really excited about this doll, because she's the first Claudie sculpt that does not have decal eyes. And also they picked a really beautiful color. It looks like it's about the same color as Lila Manetti's eyes, and I would assume that it's basically the exact same colors, like except for the eyelid. I'm really, really excited about the eye color. I think, again, it just adds more dimension to this head sculpt's face, which I really, really love. I want to say I probably should have looked at this before starting, and it's going to take me too long if I can even figure this out now, because these dolls are on pre-order basically for Berry members, which I'm obviously a Berry member because I meet the reward, like I meet the tier for that like every month. Like you're supposed to spend like $500 a year to meet Berry. I swear these days I'm spending like $500 a month. So yeah, but anyway, they're on pre-order today, so I have access to buy one, and I think I might buy this doll. I'm not sure. I live kind of close to an American Girl store. I could probably go drive and pick her up tomorrow, but I'm probably not going to do that. So that's why I'm making the video today, because if I end up getting this doll, I'm probably not like actually gonna have her in hand for like another week or two. So, but anyway, what was I saying? So yeah, her skin tone looks to be number 30, which is one shade lighter than Claudie. And I think Tiana, like, who's the only other like Claudie head sculpt doll, I think she had a different skin tone altogether. It was one that had a lot more like orange undertones, whereas this tone here looks very much like the number 30's tone. So I'm going to assume that she's a number 30 skin tone. So she's a little bit lighter than Claudie. They have given her like it's not a red lip. It's like a very stained looking lip. I think it is so pretty. It really goes with the dress. It's like this, I don't know how to describe that color. It's like a berry color. It's really, really pretty. It looks gorgeous on Claudie. So Again, I know like this is like one of those discussions that a lot of people have, and it's a very problematic discussion, obviously for the reasons I'm about to say. But I have also noticed this, that a lot of times people will say like, oh, this doll looks just like Claudie. Why would I get this doll? When they don't say those things about, like say for instance, well, this isn't everybody. I have to like, this is not, I'm not saying that everybody does this, but I have seen it more often with dolls like Claudie, where people will say like, oh, why would I get Tiana? She looks just like Claudie. Or why would I get this holiday doll? She looks just like Claudie. But you don't see those same conversations always around like the white dolls. Like this other holiday collector doll that's part of this line is a Josefina head sculpt with like sort of like blue eyes and brown hair, which is not a new combination, but you don't see like as many conversations about it. So that's why, like, when I'm talking about these things, I try and make it like really clear that I'm just talking about differences based on the head sculpt, and not talking about like, oh, I'm trying to make this doll like compare her to Claudie so that, people think that it's the same doll and you wouldn't need both. I think that there are enough differences. I mean, obviously both have the Claudie head sculpt and like curly hair, but other than that, I really think that that's about the only similarities. Like, I think that she is quite different to Claudie. Like, if you wanted to buy her and redress her, I think that they are still different enough to get both, which is why I'm like looking at getting this one. And also to me, it's just more exciting to buy a Claudie head sculpt doll because she's the third one in existence. And I have like 30 Josefina head sculpts right now. So I love both of these dolls enough that I would like to have both of them. But like I said, I have been like on an absolute buying tear these last couple of months, and I just really do not need to be buying these like big ass holiday collector dolls because the boxes are so big. And I'm just, while I'm not an inbox collector, like the limited edition ones, I feel like it's so difficult for me to take them out of the box. I don't know why. But anyway, another really cool thing about this doll actually that kind of separates her from like just your everyday like Truly Me doll, because inevitably we are going to get like Truly Me dolls with this head sculpt. She does have that like shimmering, it's like an iridescent, is that what a cut crease is? Like the eye makeup underneath the eyelashes. So that's really cool. I think that like kind of gives her like a little bit of a signature that says like, hey, this is not just your average Truly Me doll. I paid $275 for this doll. So if you care about that, that's something that, might help you if you care about status symbols with your doll collection. And believe me, people do. Some people are really concerned with how others perceive them based on like the dolls in their collection. And I say that as somebody here with a YouTube channel bragging about my vast doll collection, but it's because I love this stuff and I want to share it with you. I like, obviously, if I wanted to make you think that I was like cool and rich and, I would be like going to like Hermes every weekend and racking up a bunch of credit card debt. I wouldn't be like, hey, I'm an almost 40-year-old man. Look at my doll collection. So anyway, I'm on like my 1,000th tangent today, but all I'm trying to say is I think that this is a really cool doll, and I think that she warrants having in my collection, especially because, like I said before, I'm really into Chapel Roan lately, and I think it would be fun to, like, I am low-key kind of thinking about doing a custom Chapel Roan doll, just, like, for fun, like, from that Tiny Desk concert, because I think it would be a really cool American Girl doll. If you want to see that video, let me know. If there's enough people that want to see, like, a custom Chapel Roan doll get made on this channel, I will do it, but if, like, only, like, 2 of you want to, then sorry, I'm not doing it. But anyway, so yeah, the other thing, too, is the doll has pierced ears, which I guess is technically an $18 value. I mean, I know you can do this kind of thing at home with a drill, but a lot of people are too scared to do that, and rightfully so. I mean, it's not the easiest thing in the world to do if you don't have a drill press, but yeah, she does have pierced ears, which is really cool. I will say, I wish she had bangs. I think that's something that could kind of help set her apart from other dolls, and honestly, for selfish reasons, I would love to cover up those eyebrows, but I do like the curly hair on her. I think that it looks really good. It's a nice length too, like kind of like it looks like it's sort of shorter on like the sides, and then down the back it kind of like has like it's like longer at the back, which I think looks really nice. I love the tiara that they put on her head. I think it's really cool, and obviously it's it's bedazzled like the rest. Well, I would say like the rest of the outfit. This outfit is not super bedazzled. I mentioned that in the other video that I made about these dolls, is like for all this like hype about Swarovski crystals on these dolls, I feel like there aren't a lot of crystals on this doll. I mean, I think they said, what, there's like 200 crystals on this doll, but like you wouldn't know it to look at her. I mean, as much as I love that purse, which I guess we'll get to in a second, I don't think that purse has crystals on it, does it? It looks very like, it almost looks like glitter. Yeah, from what I can see, I think there's just glitter on that purse. There's not even any crystals on it, which is again, I just like, I know 200 isn't like that much, but I just like don't see 200 crystals to look at this. There's hardly any on the skirt, which I think is wild. Like, so like speaking of like the Superstar Barbie, like this is the reason I really, really want this doll is because she reminds me of my Holy Grail doll that I wanted when I was a kid. For like, again, another tangent, but the thing that I'm getting for my 40th birthday this year is I'm finally getting my Superstar Barbie from 1988. So this kind of feels like the year of Superstar Barbie for me. And that's why like I love that this kind of like coincided with that. So that's probably why I'm ultimately going to get this doll, because just all the nostalgic ties of Superstar Barbie, for me, at least in this. But so like speaking of her, like Superstar Barbie had like printed stars all over her. I guess it was like tulle or whatever, but she had that big like pink skirt and it had stars printed all over it, like silver stars printed all over it. And I wish they could have done something like that with this skirt because it looks really, really plain. Like, don't you think looking at this, like they could have done a little bit more? It looks sort of like almost like little lens flares. Like you literally on the front of the skirt, it's just like 3 little patches of like starburst on there. And then even like on the bodice of the dress, it's like, I don't know. It's my personal opinion that they could have done a little bit more with this. And I love that purse. Like there's a lot of different types of stars in this. And I almost wish they had just gone over the top with that simple graphic star, like it's the shape of her purse that, you know, similar to the American Girl logo. It's not quite, but it's like, you know, sort of like a graphic star, like 5-pointed star. I wish they had just gone like all in with that and taken that same like star shape and printed it all over the tulle skirt, sort of like a Superstar Barbie, and then maybe gone in with like a crystal in the center of each star. So we had more of like an all over print with that. Like I think it would have just had so much more impact to do it that way. And same with that bodice. Like I'm fine with like the silky material. But, you know, I really think that this looks better from the waist up than it does the waist down. I have to say, I feel a little bit let down by the skirt on this. Just, I will say, I love that it's ombre. I think, and if I can remember, we'll touch on the box in a second. But I do love that it's ombre, that it kind of starts at that light pink, and then we have sort of that medium raspberry pink, and then we get down to like the magenta, like fuchsia color. And we've got some interesting pleating going on. It's not just like a simple peplum with, you know, and we just see 3 tiers. It looks like it's got some different like lengths and layers on the skirt. So it has a lot of dimension from what I can tell. I think it looks really great, but I have to say, I wish somehow, some way they could have found money in the budget to do some sort of printing all over this skirt and really gone over the top with it. Again, I think printing like silvery glitter stars all over it would have been a much better choice than just this tiny little kiss of crystals just here and there. I think it loses impact. It looks a little, honestly, I have to say, it looks a little bit closer to the Disney line, which sells for $135 versus a Swarovski collector doll that, you know, you would expect to pay $275 for. Now, we've had a lot of discussions about crystals on this channel as well, and I am always the first to say, please just use regular rhinestones and not charge us for Swarovski crystals. Now, I know that like Swarovski crystals are not the finest. They're not diamonds. Like it's not like we've got blood diamonds all over the doll. Like I know that they're not like the finest material in the world, but I do think that they have to pay extra for these crystals. I'm not saying it's like 10 times the amount, but to use the name Swarovski and have their logo on the box and everything, it costs more to do that than a simple rhinestone from like a Joanne Fabrics. So, or more realistically, like some factory where they like crap out like 10 million of them a day. But I recognize that. I do realize that a lot of the cost in the crystals as well comes from the application of them. So it doesn't matter if you have a crystal that's worth like a tenth of a penny versus one that's worth $10. They're probably going to cost the same amount of money in labor to have someone actually go and sew that onto a garment. So that's probably part of why I guess maybe they're using the Swarovski brand, is because it has some sort of cachet to it. So, you know, they're getting more bang for their buck by putting this stuff on here and not being like, hey, it cost us $50 to have somebody sit and sew all of these crystals on here. So we might as well like yeah, I just think that they're trying to attach a name to it to like help justify like how much it costs to actually have somebody sit there and sew each of these things on. I get that a lot of that's in the labor, but I don't know. I get also that it's not a collector doll if it doesn't cost more and isn't like more rare than the rest of them. So they have to find excuses to do that. So I'm not expecting the collector dolls to be $125 or whatever, but I'm just saying it would be nice if they were like maybe $200 and maybe we did some like just made some choices that didn't involve like a license from another company and maybe just did things that help take it over the top, like visually, aesthetically, without like, having tiny little details be put on that cost a lot of money, but don't have like a lot of visual wow to them. So that's kind of my gripe with this like Swarovski thing is I feel like it's a lot of cost and labor to put them on plus the like license. But at this point, I feel like this, we get what we get with these. I think that their plan is to do Swarovski crystals for every limited edition doll, which is, again, it's just so crazy to me. It's like, does American Girl like own stock in Swarovski crystals? So yeah, that's my rant about the outfit. I just really feel like more could be done to have a bigger visual impact than like putting all these tiny little crystals on that I think cost more money to apply than the actual visual payoff that you get for them. So anyway, I'll get off of that point because I've like literally gone on about it forever. I will say I think my favorite piece in this entire like for this collector doll is that tiara. It looks to be well made. Let me look and see what it's made out of. Yeah, it's made out of metal, as is the necklace, which is really great because those are the kinds of things that I think really do have a visual payoff. In person, you can typically tell just by looking at something if it's actually metal or plastic. So it's really great that the tiara, I think they're just calling it a headband, but let's be real, this is a tiara, that and the earrings and the necklace, like those are made out of metal. That really, really helps, I think, in terms of like improving the like visual quality of it. One thing that I think is actually really interesting, and I think this is very Barbie-ish of them to do, it looks like the trim on the neckline of this thing has either some sort of like iridescent thread or there's some sort of trim on it. I'm trying to like zoom in and look, but like if you look at some of the details, there is like a little bit of iridescence in there, which I think is a fun little detail. Again, I think this is a very Barbie release, and I wouldn't be surprised if this is heavily influenced by like the surge in popularity of Barbie over the last year since the release of the movie. I would not be surprised if this is very much like, intentionally Barbie core. But that's why I keep like bringing up like this just reminds me of something that Barbie would make. I'm really, really into it. And as I said before, I think that the purse is really, really cute. It's a little bit strange just because, again, we've got different like types of stars, which I think is fine, but we've also got like different mixes of materials. So it's like this glitter fabric on the star is a little bit in left field based on like the other materials we're seeing on here, but it's fine. I do still like it. We've also got these shoes, like these kitten heel shoes, which again, I love the kitten heels. I think they're so fun. And it looks like it's a similar kind of look and pattern to some of the Disney dolls and stuff. And they're kind of done with what I hope is like a vinyl coated, like vinyl, like a glittery vinyl. They likely won't shed. I think they've been fairly good in recent years about not making glittery things that are super sheddy. So yeah, these are great. I love the shoes. Oh yeah, I think as far as like these are limited edition, and we're all trying to figure out how many of each they're making, because it just says like, I think it's for both skin tones of the doll. I think they are making a total of 13,000 of these, which is kind of on the high end, but that's good. I think they made a similar amount of last year's collector doll, which says to me that this line is selling well. I mean, that doll last year sold out, and I would expect these to sell out, before the end of the year, hopefully. I know the light's changing in here. I think some clouds are going across the sky. You're just going to have to ignore it. I get migraines with studio lights, and that's just one of the things that comes along with this channel is you have to deal with some funky lighting here and there because I really try and rely on sunlight to film, but man, is it dark in here. Let me take a break and see if the sun will come back out in just a minute. So I'll see you in just a minute. All right, that may be better. I'm not entirely sure, but so yeah, we have 13,000 of these getting made, and I don't know if they are going to separate those numbers based on the the doll's skin tone, because again, we have a Josefina sculpt and a Claudie sculpt, and they might actually just lump them all together in the 13,000. I don't think that they're making these to order. That's so weird when they say like, oh, no more than 13,000 are going to be made. So I would assume that the denominator number is going to be 13,000 on these certificates of authenticity, regardless of which type of doll you buy. But they may not, according to them, they may not make 13,000 of them, but it's hard for me to imagine them making these to order, because they take long enough to make that I don't think that because these are made in China, like they have to like put in an order, wait on the factory to have time in their schedule to make them, then they make them, and then they take them to the port in China, and they have to get picked up by a gigantic barge with this big sea container on it. It has to spend weeks on a boat getting over from China to a port in America, which is not going to be in, I don't know if they ship, I think they ship these from Wisconsin. So they have to get them to the East Coast somewhere, and they sit there, they have to clear customs. There's a lot of paperwork. I've done this before in business, which is why I know how this works. They have to fill a lot of paperwork out. They have customs brokerage, all of this. Like there's a lot that goes into getting items from China to America. Then those have to get loaded onto a truck and trucked all the way out to Wisconsin, and then they have to be warehoused and inventoried and packed and shit. Like that's why like you don't order a doll on pre-order and they just arrive in a couple of weeks, because there's not somebody sitting in Wisconsin making them. They have to place these big orders, and they have to make it all the way from China to here through a million different steps. So I am so confused about why they do this way, because I feel like they say no more than X amount of dolls are being made, but like for them to go make more dolls, they're not going to ship until next year. So it's very confusing to me why they do that, unless they're trying to, I honestly, I don't know. Somebody let me know if you know exactly why. But when they use language like that, it makes you believe like, okay, they're capping it at 13,000, but if they only sell like 500 of them, then they'll only make 500 of them. But all of that's to say is I think that they're probably just going to say 13,000 regardless of the skin tone. And if they end up making, 5,000 of one and 3,000 of the other, then that's all they end up making. So we don't know how many they're going to be making. Now, I did check the inventory on American Girl's website. As of this morning, they had around 500 of the Claudie head sculpt, and they had somewhere I want to say it was over 2,000, a little over 2,000. And I think they launched last night, so I didn't see it until this morning because I went to bed early. But they had a little over 2,000 of the Josefina head sculpt. So to me, that says that they are not aiming to make as many of the Claudie head sculpt versus the Josefina head sculpt. Do with that information what you will. I really think that they do this based on projected sales, based on past sales at American Girl. So that's a whole different conversation about like, why are we making fewer of the black doll than we are the white doll, essentially? And also, why is there not an Asian doll? But I do understand that they can only make as many as will sell. I think the bigger problem is that if we want to talk about like making, like American Girl making physically, like by numbers, more white dolls than black dolls, for instance, I think that's because they're just selling more white dolls than black dolls. And I think that comes down to, if their demographic, which I think it is, if I had to guess, I would say their demographic is like a majority white people, that they are only buying white dolls for their child. And I think that is a problem. I do not think that white children should have only white dolls. I just don't. I think if you have multiple dolls in your collection should look like the real world. I don't think it should just be like, oh, okay, you're white, blonde, blue eyes, then all you get is white, blonde, blue eyes. I just think that's very odd. I don't have children and don't plan on ever like having them. So, if you have children, maybe you can like correct me, but I just think it's like wild how many white kids only have white dolls. And that can also come down to marketing as well. American Girl is also, I would say guilty of this, is every time you see an ad for American Girl that has children in it, it's always a girl, which is also like kind of problematic. I wish that they would include, boys in their marketing as well. But whenever you see like young girls with these dolls, it's always like the white girl has a white doll, the black girl has a black doll, the Asian girl has an Asian doll. Like it's very like they're kind of perpetuating that thing. But I understand that like the Truly Me doll line was originally and still is intended for, like, and again, this is in what I think is in American Girl's like corporate minds, is a girl goes into American Girl and picks out a doll that looks like her. Like, that's the intention of that line. So I understand that that's why they kind of market it that way, but I just feel like, in like, if I, again, this, I'm pulling this completely out of my head. There might be actual real world examples of this where I'm completely wrong about this, but I feel like as a general rule, American Girl will put like pair girls and dolls based on like their skin tone, which again, I think is wild to do these days. Again, I don't know. I don't want this to get like terribly political, but I just think it's like crazy that we're still doing that this day and age. But um, yeah, so I think that that's why these numbers are like they are. I think that we just see more white parents buying at American Girl, and those parents tend to buy these for their children. I don't know, but these are also collector dolls. Like, are children getting these dolls? That's actually another thing I would like to know, because I don't know a ton of adult collectors that have children that also collect American Girl dolls. So if you have children, do your children get these dolls, or are these dolls like specifically like your dolls and like your kids aren't allowed to touch them? So yeah, this is kind of an interesting conversation to have. I don't know. I mean, maybe we'll dive into it in the comment section here, but I'm trying, like, to be sure I don't make excuses for a company that I think is doing something that's a little bit old school and not how the world is anymore. But also, like, I understand that these, Mattel is a corporation and their bottom line is the most important thing to them. So I guess all I'm trying to say is, like, it's just a shame that that's how it is. And I think especially like as time goes on, like, it means that the dolls with like the deeper skin tones end up being the rarer dolls. At the end of the day, I'm just saying, like, it sucks that fewer black dolls are made. And in this case, we're getting 0 Asian dolls. So I don't know. I just think it's not great for representation. And I don't think it's like taking into account long term, especially because these are collector dolls. They're meant to be in collectors' hands and kept and admired for years and years and years. It's like, where's the Asian doll? This is all done by the same company that owns Barbie, and Barbie's collector line, from what I can tell, because I'm not super duper into Barbie, but from what I can tell, their holiday collector line, we have like a blonde Barbie, a redhead white Barbie, we have black Barbie, we have an Asian Barbie. I feel like they tend to do a pretty good job with representation and inclusivity in the Barbie line, but American Girl to me feels like in a lot of ways like further behind than Barbie is. I think that's a little bit odd. Again, I love American Girl and I think they do so many things right, but I just feel like sometimes in terms of inclusivity and progressiveness, I feel like they hold back, and I largely suspect, because I largely suspect that there are a lot of like super conservative people that are really into the American Girl brand. That I'm going to do a whole podcast episode, I think, on that if you want to hear it. And this isn't to like pick sides or anything, but obviously I am not super into super conservative people for obvious reasons. But anyway, yeah, I just think that American Girl probably has a bigger like fan base of like, when I say conservative, I mean super conservative people, the ones that complain about like, the same people that would have complained that there was a black Disney princess in like 2009 or whenever that was. So yeah, I think that American Girl is a little bit more afraid of their Karen customers than Barbie is, and I think that's where some of this comes from. But yeah, anyway, this went on a huge like tangent about this, but I guess that was leading into my gripe that, like, where is the Asian doll in this line? I don't understand. Like, I feel like it would not have cost them that much more to do that. And I know it can get tricky too, because you start to say like, well, what about this and this and this, and then all of a sudden there's like 25 like doll, 25 different people that are represented in the doll line. I do understand that, but I do think that there are ways of abstracting things so that there is something for everybody, and you don't have to make 20 dolls to do that. But yeah, I think like this line in particular, I think, is specifically missing Asian representation. I think a Corinne head sculpt doll in this line, especially with some pink streaks in her hair or something, would have been like absolutely gorgeous and well received. So yeah, that's, I guess, another one of my complaints about the holiday release this year is just sort of like the lack of representation. It's hard to complain when, I feel like I understand that American Girl is just trying to make money and they worry about their bottom line, but also I feel like as a company, you do have a responsibility when you are this big and you're worth that much money and you have this much of a piece of culture. I think it is really, really important to be conscious of the things that you are saying by the things that you are releasing and the things that you are doing. So I do, like I said, I love American Girl. I think they're the best doll brand in the world, but I will still be vocal about things that I think that we need to be vocal about, because I try and do it in a gentle, nice way. I'm not saying that everybody there is a complete jerk and doesn't know what's going on, but I think it is important to voice these things because they are important to me. They are important to a lot of people that collect. And I think raising our voices about these sorts of things really can kind of help them say, okay, we see some demand for this on Instagram. We're seeing YouTubers talk about this stuff. Let's try, you know, X and see if X is successful. And that might help push them into a direction that helps make them a little bit more progressive. You know, I think it's important to vocalize these things. So yeah, that was a huge, gigantic tangent that I didn't expect to go on today, and I'm about to lose battery power. But I think I've probably touched on everything I want to say about these dolls today. I think having sat here and thought about it some more, I think I'm probably going to get the Claudie one, even though we probably won't see her unboxed for like a week or two. But she's so beautiful. She reminds me of Superstar Barbie from 1988. And it's so hard to say no. I love Claudie. And one last thing before my battery runs out. Thank you, American Girl, for changing the box color. I know you didn't do it because of me, but it's still so nice to see a box that isn't like all bright red. It actually starts at like a really like magenta-y color and then has this ombre effect down to more their like traditional red color. And it mimics what happens on the skirt, and it looks really great with the doll. So I think this is one of the best examples of how the box integrated with the design of the doll really helps the whole thing sing. So with that said, I think I'm going to buy this doll. All in all, I think they did a great job with it. I would love to know in the comments if you are getting these dolls, if you're getting one of them, which one are you getting? Do you like them? I want to know all your thoughts, opinions, and emotions. And yeah, I guess this is the time where I remind you that you can support this channel on Patreon by clicking the link below. It is super duper cheap, and it's the only way this channel can keep going is by the support from my friends on Patreon. So please check it out if you're interested in seeing hours and hours and hours of me rambling like I did today. There's tons of exclusive content on there. I also have a shop that you can click the link in the description and, you know, have a peruse around and see if there's anything that you liked, which again is a great way to support this channel. Yeah, if you want to keep hanging out, I got tons of other videos on YouTube like this one right here. And yeah, let's keep doing this. So I'll see you in the next video. Later.